Quote, art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. Thomas Merton, unquote. A very pleasant morning to one and all who've joined us today. May I request our honorable chief guest, parents of Sinjini Bhattacharjee, head girl, Unison World School, to inaugurate the annual art exhibition.
Hello everyone, I'm Sinjini's mother, Churni Bhattacharjee. I'm really grateful to the school and the management for inviting us to inaugurate this beautiful art exhibition. It is indeed an honor and a great privilege to be a part of such an amazing occasion. I am so impressed by the students and their potential, and I'm beyond amazed to see how the students have been working lately and how they have made this event a success, even during this pandemic. I wish we were there in person to witness this beautiful event. On this occasion, the students must not only recognize their own efforts, but the efforts of those who have supported them, especially their parents and the teachers. And lastly, I'd like to say, believe in yourself. You're better than you think, more talented than you know, and capable of more than you can imagine. Thank you, and all the best for your future endeavors.
philosopher Heraclitus once said, "Change is the only constant in life." The dynamic nature of the society and the environment means that people cannot afford to stay in the same position and must adapt their lifestyles, attitude, and behavior occasionally in order to fit in. CDs to MP3, books to e-books, maps to GPS, photo albums to Instagram, posts to email, window shopping to e-commerce. Most things have become more simple and more accessible. Internet has enabled all of us to stay connected, but it has detached us from our offline lives. The modern meaning of digitalization is defined by the use of software applications that change the way we interact as organizations within a society. Your personal and social lives are impacted by social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and others. Your lives as consumers are impacted by online shopping and extended interaction possibilities with suppliers for your daily needs.
Online businesses because they allow me to view and touch the products I want to buy. However, online businesses have more reach and variety, and sometimes they also have lower prices. Also, it's easier for startups to establish an online business because they have lower costs.
Your working lives are impacted by digital collaboration, allowing you to work together everywhere and with everybody. At this stage, digital mindfulness has likewise picked up significance, and individuals are additionally ready to take in the new modes accessible for them to deal with their money in the cashless way. Online shopping has some advantages over shopping in retail stores, including the ability to easily compare prices from a range of merchants, access to a wide selection of merchandise, being open 24/7, and the convenience of not having to drive to a physical store. Digitalization of today's world has made our lives easier and is now aiding us to virtually reach our everyday lives. It has redefined what we once called normal and given a new outlook to every person living on this planet, substantially impacting our lives.
Learning apps are available for students, and these are not just being used by private sectors, but several government establishments are now using these to reach out to children. These interactive technology-based modules of imparting education not only help children to grasp and retain the concepts better, but it also makes learning a more enjoyable experience. These online classes help the children in order to inculcate creativity, have the dexterity of problem solving, and the skills for analytical thinking, which I feel are vital for this globally and digitally growing marketplace. Students can learn concepts at their very own pace, and the teachers can constantly monitor them digitally. I believe that online classes can help in the growth of a child holistically.
Does being offline necessarily mean being disconnected? Beyond anxiety such as FOMO, which is fear of missing out, being offline is also seen as disengagement from a certain milieu of the digital, an impediment to the way life is organized by and around technologies in general. While our faces are buried in our phones, we risk missing the smaller details in life. If we don't remember the bad, how can we possibly enjoy the good to the highest degree?
I would say both are essential. So we cannot do away with online in today's world. It's a world of technology, and we have been able to communicate with each other only because of these online lessons and because we have our social media with which we connect. But this human touch, these human emotions, you cannot incorporate them in your online classes. Like I really miss the times when it's Teachers' Day and children just shut the doors and confidentially talking about and discussing about the celebration, which of course you do not have online. No matter how many emojis you may have, you may try and express your emotions through those emojis, but there is no replacement of human touch, human emotions and feelings.
With time, I am concerned we will look back at our Facebook timelines and mistake the facade that we presented of ourselves as fact for who we actually were. Are we our true selves online, and does it really matter? You might just be more than a brand. Your online self looks like you, talks like you, and has most of the aspirations, goals, and dreams like you, but it isn't really you.
Hi, this is Anubhav Barjatya, Chartered Accountant and Chief Finance Officer of JDB Group of Companies, a renowned industrial group in the northeastern states of the country. Our industrial portfolio includes various manufacturing units in cement, plywood, manufacturing of snacks, etc. While we have significant exposure in hospitality segment as well, we own a 5-star hotel, Novotel Guwahati. Talking about offline and online sales, I believe that the northeastern states of the country, especially in segments like manufacturing of cement, steel, plywood, we are still very much dependent on the traditional mode of transacting business, the manufacturer, distributor, wholesaler, retailer chain. But yes, we are as we move along, businesses like Novotel Guwahati are still very much dependent on online sales. So it's a mix of both. We are dependent on online and offline modes of transacting business, but predominantly, yes, in the northeastern segments, we still are dependent on offline modes.
What could you do with your life if you didn't partake in all this? The hours you spend on Netflix, social media, reading blogs. You could travel, spend quality time with friends and family. You could write a novel, start a business. You are going to be afraid that you lose that connection with hundreds or even thousands of people. You are going to be afraid that you'll become a hermit, a pariah of society. But in the end, it will turn out to be extremely worthwhile. Looking at the data and the statistics, we have become glass citizens in a transparent house, connected for life to an intravenous drip, and who can be traced anywhere via their smartphones. We have surely embraced this new style of living and adapted well to the changes. However, we have tried to eliminate the previous style of living without realizing that we cannot stop living that way. Somewhere in the future, there will come a point of time where we will need a break, and our only resort would be going offline. Well, till then, we shall continue living the way we are, and what is important to survive this rat race.
There's a quote usually attributed to the writer Mark Twain that goes, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes." Funny thing about that, there's a reason to doubt that Mark Twain ever said this at all, thus ironically proving the point. And today, the quote, whoever said it, is truer than ever before. Fake news is the canary in the digital coal mine. It is a symptom of a much wider systemic challenge around the value and credibility of information and the way that we, socially, politically, economically, are going to handle the threats and opportunities of new communication technology. They are false stories that appear to be news spread on the internet or using other media, usually created to influence political views or as a joke.
It all starts through development of fake news websites which spread unauthentic information by rousing the curiosity of the users using sensational and dramatic headlines. Also, advanced algorithms such as cookies are used to track the user's history on the basis of which misleading information is being advertised. Furthermore, social media assists in spreading fake news by redirecting users to fake and unauthentic websites.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake. You have to leave that. Recently, fake social media pictures exaggerating Uttarakhand forest fire situation were being circulated. After looking into the matter, it was found that the pictures being shared were of the 2016 forest fire and not 2020. A fake Zee News graphic claims that the central government of India has decided for a complete lockdown in India from June 15th and that all travel services would be shut again.
Yellow journalism is a form of journalism where information and facts are being exaggerated and manipulated so as to pass as sensational news. In turn, this sort of news influences the public opinion. Now, fake news has existed long before digitalization. It is only increased and has become more widespread through technology. So we must be aware of the websites we visit.
1898 publication of a single pseudo-scientific paper arguing that routine vaccination of children causes autism inspired an entire anti-vaccination movement, despite the fact that the original paper has repeatedly been discredited by the scientific community. Deliberately unvaccinated children are now contracting contagious diseases that had been virtually eradicated in the United States, with some infections proving fatal. Thousands of migrant workers assembled in Mumbai due to a fake SMS from a man which said that the government was sending the workers back to their hometowns. This caused a lot of chaos and confusion in the city.
We, during this lockdown, can communicate with each other in the fastest possible manner using WhatsApp. So now what happens is whenever we receive any alarming message on WhatsApp, we think that it is really important for others as well to know. So blindly, without even thinking that if it is true or not, we forward the message. And trust me, it may not affect you that much, but it may affect other people to a lot of extent. And as this news is not true, it's like some unnecessarily trouble we are taking on our heads, right? So I think the first step is that we stop forwarding the WhatsApp messages, right? Because you can be the person who breaks this chain.
I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
So you practically think this thing that when you receive some news, obviously these news channels would have received it. So if you don't find any information on their channels or on their websites, then it is definitely true that the news that you've received is fake. So I think this is one of the best ways to cross-check, and I think we should just not rely on the information which is there on WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram, because people, they love adding spice to things. So I think these two ways, if we just follow them, it will help us a lot.
Avoiding sensationalist media, searching for criticisms of suspicious information, and tracing the original source of a report can help slow down a lie, giving the truth more time to put on its shoe.
Whoever controls the media controls the mind, is rightly quoted by Jim Morrison. What is this media that has so much of power? Let's understand that media is the plural of the word medium, a medium of communication. Media are communication outlets or tools used to store and circulate information. There are other forms of media such as print, broadcast, alternative, out-of-home media, and the internet. It describes the several ways through which we communicate in the society. since it refers to all means of communication. Everything ranging from a telephone call to the news on the television can be called media. One of the most typical examples of media is news, and there are endless purposes that news serves. Of course, it informs and enhances awareness of one's surroundings, but mainly because people are affected by the news they are provided with, it seems so crucial to them. News holds a lot of power and importance, power over the viewer and over their judgments. However, we will delve into that later. What makes all sorts of news so important these days? For the starter, the audience are able to almost teleport to another place they would otherwise not be able to visit or have little influence over. News gives you empowerment and confidence in your knowledge and views. It brings people closer. News from a local area is often important to advise people in a locality about activities that may have an impact on a community. This can allow a community to engage in healthy decision-making processes. Moreover, the fact that it is presented in their local language makes it easier for them to benefit from it. Hence, media helps in social and cultural sensitization. Talking of countries, it becomes even more important. Often countries have a broad extent of distances, and in such cases, having national news sources helps to build unity and create national perspectives. It helps in many economical ways too. Information on the weather forecast of one place will direct the aviation and water transport of another country, or for that matter, will affect a cricket match or a visit of a political leader. Looking at the bigger picture and importance of international news, it will not be wrong to say that it informs our view of the world. And in response, we take action and make choices based on how we perceive the world to be. The information regarding the global pandemic COVID-19 made inroads into the economy of the provinces of each and every country. What do we think about Syria? Is abortion something I agree with? Should gay marriage be legalized? Should we vote for a government who wants to cut corporate tax over one who wants to institute government-funded healthcare? These snippets of information called news add up to our worldview and inform us when it comes to making our own opinions and judgments.
As a student of humanity, I believe there remains a huge difference between theory and reality as depicted by media. For example, the movie Padmavat, directed by Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and the poem Padmavati, written by Muhammad Malik Jayasi, have a stark difference in space, character, and even the story. The movie is based on a literary account written 200 years after the actual event. In the pursuit of showing the Rajput valor, which is an unquestionable reality, the movie makers ignored the public sentiment, and the result was a widespread outrage. Thus, I believe accountability can bridge the gap between theory and reality of the media.
Darwin's theory of evolution has been a matter of great success as well as debate. The media definitely has seen a tremendous evolution over the ages. During the prehistoric times, several societies developed the skills of carving, painting, sketching on stones and various other materials, whereas some other societies developed speech and oral communication. With the development came the postal service. The earliest methods of communicating across great distances used written correspondence delivered by hand from one person to another. As we moved to more effortless ways of communication, the use of postal services declined. In 1792, the telegraph was invented. This allowed messages to be delivered over a long distance faster than a horse and rider could carry them. Although telegraph messages were short, they were a revolutionary way to convey news and information. The telephone and radio were developed in the late 19th century, which enabled people to communicate across great distances instantaneously, something that mankind had never experienced before. Radio has changed the lives of generations by bringing the world to their doorstep. With the audio news still in use, researchers found a way for the public to receive visual news. the television. TV news channels evolved from a single Doordarshan, which telecasted a 5-minute news bulletin in 1965, to a total number of 892 news and current affairs channels, most of which have 24/7 news broadcast. Media has evolved, but the purpose of evolution should not have bypassed its collective cause of providing credible information.
Politically supported due to political bad conditions of the ruling parties, they imposed emergency. In emergency, nobody had the right to speak, right to express, which is a fundamental right of every human being in India. So, in those days, emergency days, whosoever will speak against the government will be put behind the bars. Or that is why everybody has to speak in favor of government, whatever not the people but the government. What government wanted to show, what government wanted to express, that was only written in the media.
Media is considered to be the fourth pillar of the democracy, while the other three being legislative, executive, and judiciary. It plays a very important role in influencing public opinion. Millions of people watch TV and read newspapers every day. Media is considered as the mirror of the modern society and vice versa. When the pattern of behavior changes in large numbers and is sustained, it results in a social change. Once there is a deviation from culturally inherited values, it may result in revolution against the establishment system, causing a change in social order, both constructive and destructive. In a democratic setup, it is media which strengthens the democratic norms and values and also accelerates the pace of development. It can keep the powerful in check by seeking transparency in their actions. The media works as a watchdog of the government and reports every action of the administration. Extensive liberty has been granted to the media by the Constitution, and in fact, an awakened and free media is essential for the smooth functioning of the government. One of the criticisms of any media in a democratic setup centers around its ability to ask substantial questions to the government. Hence, in an era of fake news and low trust in the media, an enfeebled class of media houses could eventually lead to a weakening of the very democracy that defines a modern state. Ever since the colonial times, there has been a regulation on media houses in the form of censorship or paid media. However, despite the restrictions and censorship and many a times lack of resources, certain media houses and journalists have risked their lives to bring the four events which otherwise were neglected. Over the past few years, a trend has developed where media is seen as the mouthpiece of the party in power. Media is interested in sensational news to increase its TRP. Journalists take advantage of the state's love for sentiments and emotions to spread propaganda. More than the information, the fear around the information is circulated. The worst of these trends is the snowballing effect it develops on social media.
Why do you agree with the view that media is the mirror of a society?
मैं एग्री करता हूँ। मीडिया जो है समाज का एक आईना है। हमारे जो इंडिया है उसमें, क्योंकि इंडिया एक डेमोक्रेट कंट्री है और मीडिया जो है डेमोक्रेसी में फोर्थ पिलर माना गया है, तो जो समाज में घटता है वो मीडिया में पता चलता है। तो हम कह सकते हैं कि मीडिया जो है समाज का एक आईना है।
Does the media only show negative and false news designed for some specific purpose?
हाँ, ये कह सकते हैं कि आजकल जो है मीडिया सरकार का एक पपेट बन के रह गया है। वो सरकार के फेवर की चीज़ें दिखाता है और जो अपोजिशन पार्टियां हैं उनकी नेगेटिव दिखाने की कोशिश करता है। तो इससे लोगों में जो है एक गलत पिक्चर निकल के आती है उनके दिमाग में, और इससे जो है देश का और समाज का नुकसान होता है।
The bias
of the media is rusting the foundation of democracy. In awe of the government or dues to the censor, the media houses help spread subjective information shaped by either distorting the facts or by removing the facts. The COVID-19, social conditions in socialist states, political conditions in the Middle East, condition of mankind in North Korea, status of women in theocratic states, human rights violation of the minorities, and so on. The information we get is either subjective or lopsided. Once again, during these difficult times of today, fake news has managed to enter social systems and is spreading faster than the coronavirus itself. Out of 178 fact checks conducted by a website since the onset of the pandemic, as much as 35% of them were fake videos, 29% images, and a similar percentage were doctored messages on a range of issues such as fake diagnosis and treatment. One of the ways in which democracy can function smoothly is keeping the judiciary, executive, and legislature independent of each other and allowing a free press to put a check and balance over them. Media affects our perception of reality because often they are the only source of reality and therefore they have great responsibility. But what happens if they hold on to this power but fail to provide verifiable content? Well, for one, the viewers will be misinformed and this may lead to worse situations. Many media houses have been working towards such endeavors. It was due to the efforts of Raqqa is being slaughtered silently that the internal conflicts of Syria were brought to the world.
We work through peaceful means to combat the dark forces, and our publications have a great impact in planting signs of peaceful resistance. We carry out graffiti campaigns on the walls inside the most dangerous strongholds of ISIS, attempting to prove to the world that we will defeat arms with thoughts. Maybe we are not a professional journalist. Maybe we are only citizen journalists. We don't care a lot about labels. We just want to prove ourselves on the ground as forces facing the most brutal regime, Assad, and the most dangerous organization, ISIS.
3 journalists of Kashmir were able to bring the internal conflict in Kashmir in front of the world and for which they won the Pulitzer Prize. Individuals like Anshul Saxena and websites like Alt News through their respective platforms tried to bring the real story behind the mainstream news. Organizations like TED Talks and Wang Young World, using social media as a platform, are able to bring the dark side of North Korea when they invited Yeonmi Park to speak on freedom. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make guilty innocent. And that's power because they control the minds of the masses. By Malcolm.
This virus is from Seattle, Washington.
The nation is holding an emergency meeting tomorrow to talk about this virus as more and more people get sick in Asia. And now we're learning this morning that the number of deaths is also growing.
I'm speaking to you at what I know is an increasingly challenging time. A time of disruption in the life of our country. a disruption that has brought grief to some, financial difficulties to many, and enormous changes to the daily lives of us all.
But now you have this, that by doing nothing, you're doing great service to the world. Serving the nation, serving the people, serving the humanity, just by doing nothing. You will not get another opportunity like this. You must make use of this fully.
While we have faced challenges before, this one is different. This time we join with all nations across the globe in a common endeavor, using the great advances of science and our instinctive compassion to heal. We will succeed, and that success will belong to every one of us. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet.
Today, breathe. Listen. Behind the factory noise of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming, and we are always encompassed by love. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love.
In this time when people are going to move on, the economy is going to be in shambles for who knows how long, there is a green light on the other side of this red light that we're in right now. And I believe that green light is going to be built upon the values that we can enact right now. Values of fairness, kindness, accountability, resilience, respect. When we get out of this virus this time might be the one time that brings us all together and unifies us like we have not been in a long time. So yes, let's see if we can make some lemonade out of this lemon that we're in the middle of. Turn a red light into a green light. Just keep living.
Drought that we are facing might get prolonged for months, but the one thing that I am sure of is latching tightly onto this hope that shines so brightly above all of us is our last and only chance.
We don't need to keep running anymore. We can finally look within ourselves and connect with our soul. It's like the universe is giving us an opportunity to heal. Now, I don't know when this will end. No one does. But I do know one thing, that it will end one day. And that day, we will all look back at what we've gone through, learned and survived. We saw humanity at its best, and how it brought us all together like never before. I know it can be extremely hard for anyone to be positive or optimistic right now. But we still have a choice, right? We can either spread fear or be the light in the darkness that everyone wants to see. If you still cannot find something to hold on to, take a mirror, stand a little longer, stare a little harder. You will find something deep inside of you that still has hope, faith, and human spirit. In these times of absolute disruption, tragedy and chaos.
We have seen heartwarming stories of people coming together to help others, be it through delivering food parcels and medicines, checking on neighbors, or converting businesses to help the relief effort. And though self-isolating may at times be hard, many people of all faiths and of none are discovering that it presents an opportunity to slow down, pause and reflect in prayer or meditation.
The entire world's economy probably will fall back a little bit. It's okay. I'm saying it'll hurt. It'll hurt all of us, it'll hurt us as an institution, but it's all right. Maybe we will live the way we lived 5 years ago or 10 years ago. There was nothing wrong at that time, it was fine. So the most important thing is, we are alive and we have a vacation.
These are uncertain times. The entire world seems to be on hold. Families have been suffering, businesses have been disrupted, lives have been lost. In the entirety of its existence, mankind has been subjected to various hardships and traumas. Yet, unlike several other species, it has continued to survive. This survival has primarily been possible due to our faith in hope. The human race is currently battling an unforgiving pandemic, and along with it, several other social battles as well. Some communities are fighting against class inequality. Some are battling against severe communalism. There are some communities that are fighting against an institutional repression of their race. What we must notice here, that despite a deadly viral outbreak, people have not stopped doing what is right. It goes to show how powerful it can be to hope for a just and a better society. Hope is fundamental to the existence of our lives. I do believe that in such chaotic times, if mankind can come together and stand up against generational injustice and brutality, then not even for a minute must we doubt the existence of hope amidst this pandemic.
No one knows when this will end, when we will be able to resume from where this pandemic put a pause. Oh, we don't even know. We don't even know if it was a pause or a stop. But I believe that we will meet the ones that we yearn to meet. We will go to watch the movie that we want to watch. We will have pani puri from the vendor outside the bank. But more than all of this, I believe hope might not be entirely baseless, as it blossoms from past experiences. Just because I've been able to wake up for 17 years now, I think I will wake up tomorrow also. Similarly, just because the world survived the outbreak of the Ebola virus, the SARS virus, the multiple famines, droughts, earthquakes, cyclones, we have faith that we will survive this too. That this too shall pass. There are a lot of things filling us with hope every day. The multiple creative schemes introduced by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi.
Stay home, stay safe. We're all in this together.
Stay alert, control the virus.
Stay in and don't wander around.
Be brave and fight the virus.
Help everyone.
We are one.
We will beat this together.
As Jerzy Kosinski rightly said, the principles of true art is not to portray but to evoke. And we at Unison World School hope that the art exhibition evoked some thoughts for you to take away and that you had a great time. We hope you join us again for the alumni meet at 1 p.m. on our school's Microsoft Teams and also for the annual prize distribution function at 5 p.m. on Unison World School's YouTube channel. Thank you.